Did he?
Hey, Holly, are you there? Is Holly still there?
I'm here.
Hey, Holly, could you let in Anita Clark on the,
She's in.
that's my mom. She wanted to.
She's in.
Oh, she's in? Okay.
Yeah, she's in. Stuart, look at the chat.
Yeah, I see her name. Hey, Holly,
Yes.
can you see me?
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I was fooling around with this thing. Okay, thanks.
Another question, Holly, this is Sandy. I can't see Gary Kersey or Josh Johnson on my screen, so it's hard to know who's going to be
Hello?
speaking.
Yes. Give me 1 second.
I'll let them do that. I believe the mayor's going to go first, so I hope that.
Malcolm, did you see the question I pushed to you?
Yes, I got it. I wrote it down. Thank you.
Sure.
I'll let them know.
Are you ready to start?
This is Pat. I just have one thing. I just heard from Councilman Pardick. His computer decided to reboot about 10 minutes ago. So he said he's waiting for the reboot and then he hopes to log in. But he's obviously with the council portion of the evening. Did y'all get that?
Yeah.
Okay, just want to be sure.
Are y'all ready to start?
Just give me a second. I'm going to make sure we're recording here.
Okay.
Okay, we are recording.
Ready to go?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome to the candidate forum for the Chesapeake Beach Mayoral and Town Council, sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Calvert County and held in cooperation with the town of Chesapeake Beach. My name is Gladys White, and I'm chair of the Voter Service Committee of the League of Women Voters of Calvert County. Thank you for taking the time to participate in this opportunity to learn more about your candidates. We are very grateful for the support we received from Holly Wall, Town Administrator, and Randy Getman, Board of Elections Chair. Their support and assistance made this forum possible. Obviously, we are also grateful for the candidates' willingness to participate and the members of the virtual audience who took time from their busy lives to join. We would like to express a special thanks to our outreach partners as well. Calvert Collaborative for Children and Youth, Concerned Black Women of Calvert County, Let People Vote Southern Maryland, NAACP of Calvert County, Omega Pi Omega Chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Southern Maryland Chain Chapter of the Links Incorporated, Tri-County Maryland Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our moderator for the evening, Mr. Malcolm Funn.
Thank you, Gladys. Good evening, everyone. I'm Malcolm Funn, and I'll be serving as the moderator for this evening's forum. At this time, I'd like to review our forum rules. Number one, a candidate may not participate in the forum unless at least one general election opponent also participates. Two, your participation in this forum constitutes acknowledgement you cannot use, rebroadcast, or print forum content without permission of the League of Women Voters. Three, no recordings during the forum are permitted except League of Women Voters and Chesapeake Beach Township. Four, each candidate must answer the question posed, but may choose to use a portion of the allotted time to respond to a previous question. Five, the first responder to each question and the opening and closing statements will rotate based on a predetermined League of Women Voters generated random speaking sequence. Each candidate will be allowed 1 minute for an opening statement, 1 minute to answer each question, and 1 minute for a closing statement. A virtual time clock will display the amount of time the speaker has left. Stop will appear when time is up. Please end the sentence and stop speaking. There will be no allotted time for rebuttals. The moderator may repeat a question if requested. The candidates will not interrupt one another and will refrain from personal attacks. And lastly, questions for the candidates will be from voters in Chesapeake Beach, as well as audience questions screened by League of Women Voters volunteers during the forum. If you wish to submit a question to the town council candidates, please direct the question in the Zoom Q&A section. Audience questions will be posted to the candidates, only if there is adequate time remaining. Our candidates for town council this evening in alphabetical order are, I've lost the screen. I'm saying something else here. Giving me another screen. Okay, I don't need to see. Our candidates for town council this evening in alphabetical order are Valerie L. Bodin, Gary W. Kersey, Jonathan Evans, Derek Favre, Charlie Fink, Lawrence Jaworski, Greg Morris, and Kenneth Pardick. With respect to the order in which questions will be answered by the candidates, an online application called random.org was used. The candidates' numbers were determined by the last name of the candidates in alphabetical order. 8 candidates are running for the office of Town Council of Chesapeake Beach and are present tonight. Ms. Bodine is the first name alphabetically, and therefore she is candidate number 1. Mr. Kersey is the second name alphabetically, and therefore he is candidate number 2, and so forth. The application randomly selects the order in which candidates make their opening remarks, answer the questions, and make their closing statements. We'd like to start by offering the candidates for town council the opportunity to give 1-minute opening statements. We ask that the candidates respect the time allowed and stop speaking when the countdown clock expires. Each candidate will also be given 1 minute to respond to the question posed. I will give the names of the sequence, and I will call your name when the previous one has completed. For opening statements, Ms. Bodine, Mr. Evans, Mr. Jaworski, Mr. Fink, Mr. Favret, Mr. Morris, Mr. Pardick, and Mr. Kersey. Ms. Bodine.
Yes, thank you. For 16 years, it has been my honor to serve the citizens of Chesapeake Beach on town council, always placing the residents and families above all else. I hope that I have earned your vote this election and your confidence. A few highlights include the measured steps we have taken to keep our residents safe through the unknowns of this pandemic. That has to be our top priority and will continue to be so. This was accomplished through limiting access to our town assets, the railway trail, park, and the water park. We have also kept a keen eye on the fiscal impacts to our town budgets during this time. I have focused on town debt reduction by paying off debt early. We have saved the taxpayers $700,000 in interest, and we have a fully implemented line item budget process. I am thrilled to see that the boat ramps for the town residents are now free of charge. And monthly town council work sessions are working much better. The town council meetings since we implemented work sessions. Just as I pledged you in the last election, I continue to oppose casino type gambling in Chesapeake Beach. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Evans.
Hi guys, I'm relatively new to the area. Here in 2018 with my my wife and my 2 young children, and the first impression of the town was just amazing with the charm and the community and the friendliness of the people. I've also watched the councilman and the mayor. I think they've done a great job over the past 4 years. They've accomplished a lot of things. I serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission right now, working on the comprehensive plan. I think I can bring some fresh ideas and ambition to the council. I really just want to be a part of it. I think it's really exciting to be a part of the town's future and my children's future, and just do whatever I can to improve the town in any way that I can. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jaworski.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, League of Women Voters, for hosting this forum. I am proud and thankful to have served our wonderful town these past 4 years as a council member and as a continuing member of the North Beach Volunteer Fire Department. Current council and mayor work very well together. You have heard some of our accomplishments. These include reduced taxes, reduced debt, increased gender diversity among town staff and on various town boards and commissions, and welcome more than 10 new businesses to our town. Some personal accomplishments these past 4 years: I serve as co-chair of the Town Economic Development Committee, and I'm a member of the County Economic Development Advisory Commission, where I've worked closely with the town and county to share information from county, state, and federal programs to assist residents and local businesses during COVID-19. I pledge to continue my commitment to our town if reelected. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Fink.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, and thank you to the League of Women Voters. Just want to start by introducing myself a little bit. I've lived in the town for 10 plus years, and during that time, I've volunteered or been involved in one way or another. I was recently had the opportunity to serve this last year and a half on town council. And it's something that I feel like, I don't know if I would say that I'm proud, but I've been honored to serve with this mayor and this council, and I really look forward to serving further. Some of the things that I would really like to see happen in the next term, if I'm able to serve, I'd like to see the implementation of some of the Walkable Committee's goals. We'll learn more about that. I would like to remain vigilant in protecting our small town charm and our beautiful natural resources. I want to continue to maintain fiscal responsibility, and I really want to support to help local residents and businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Favre.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum tonight, and welcome to everyone tuning in. It's been a pleasure serving on the town council and representing your interests. 4 years ago, I ran for council for a number of reasons, primarily to address unsafe pedestrian access within town, my concerns with the mounting long-term debt of the town, and frustration with the difficulty many of our local officials at the time had working together to address the needs of our residents and businesses. Today, I'm happy to say new sidewalks and safety crossings have been installed, and our Walkable Community Advisory Group is finalizing a town-wide walkability master plan. We've reduced local taxes 4 years in a row and made significant strides in reducing town debt to the tune of over $6 million. And communication and collaboration are now the norm in town hall. That being said, there's still plenty more to be done, and I humbly ask for your vote again to continue serving you in our great town. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Morris.
Special thanks to the League for their persistence and pertinence to women's voices in our elections. And thanks to Malcolm Flynn for his time in preparing and his moderator tonight. And I'm very sorry we can't do this in person. I have an affinity and appreciation for open public forums. Obviously, we've accomplished a lot in the last this last term. A little about myself. I'm a 22-year resident. I'm a husband and a father. I've raised our kids here in Chesapeake Beach, and it's been the best. I have a principled background and have volunteered on our local HOA, our PTAs. I've supported diverse assortment of community programs. I'm a strong advocate for education and strive to increase my knowledge base at every opportunity to even better serve you. I'm running because I love helping lead this town. I like that it's really hard sometimes, representing businesses and residents alike. All taxpayers depend on us and put their faith in us to make sound decisions. Your town council and its mayor are responsible for all matters pertaining to the town. We've worked very hard, and I promise that will continue.
Thank you. Mr. Pardick.
Thank you very much. So good evening. Thank you to the League of Women Voters. It has been my honor to serve you over the last 4 years on Town Council. If you don't know me, I've worked as a federal biologist for more than 25 years. I've lived in Chesapeake Beach since 2003 with my family, and I've spent much of my free time serving the community, which I love to do. I've served as an HOA president, a founding Green Team member, a planning and zoning commissioner, and the C-Box architect. Currently, in addition to my council role, I chair the award-winning and effective Twin Beach Opioid Abuse Awareness Committee. And we moved here because of the small town, family-friendly atmosphere, the beautiful natural environment, and good schools. It is quite simply a great place to live. I know you share the sentiment, and I will continue to work for you to keep it that way through ethical and effective government, expanding outdoor recreational opportunities, opposing gambling expansion, and promoting environmental, social, and fiscal practices for a sustainable future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Kersey? Unmute yourself, sir.
I just unmuted myself. Can you actually hear me?
Yes.
Okay, there's a slight delay there. Okay. Hi, I'm Gary Kersey, and I've been a resident here at Chesapeake Beach for 10 years, raised my son here. My wife lives here with me, and I do have experience in working with communities and whatnot back on Chesapeake Beach. My life in New York State. I love Chesapeake Beach. I think it's a great town. It's a great place to live. And I like the small town atmosphere, and I'd like to keep it that way. And excuse me. I actually work for the government. I've been a survey statistician and program analyst for the last 23 years. And before that, I worked for the Army. So I'm 31 years now working for the federal government. And I can't think of a better place to live than Chesapeake Beach, Maryland. I hope you'll vote for me on November 3rd. And thank you very much. And thanks for hosting this forum.
Thank you. Now we'll begin the question and answer portion of the program. The first question, the order of the persons will be Ms. Bodine, Mr. Fink, Mr. Kersey, Mr. Pardick, Mr. Morris, Mr. Fevray, Mr. Jaworski, Mr. Evans. And the question is, how do you see the role as a member of the town council? How do you see your role as a member of the town council?
Yes, I see my role as a member of town council as being a conduit of the residents' interests as they come forth with some problems that they may have, for example, whether it be problems with COVID, problems with Airbnbs and short-term rentals. I see us as part of a group to do some long-term planning with a comprehensive plan, ensure that we maintain our small town charm through that comprehensive plan, that we encourage businesses that are reflective of that small town, that we provide opportunities for town engagement through things like C-Box, that we just provide an opportunity to have a voice in between the resident and the state. For example, through the casino ballot initiative that residents will be voting on.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Sorry. Thank you. Mr. Fink?
I had my first interaction when I moved into this town 10 odd years ago. I met a gentleman at Roland's, and turns out that gentleman was a town councilman. And I didn't realize that until after I talked to him, and we ended up meeting up later for dinner with my wife. And later there was a hurricane that year. It was one of the years we had quite a few, and the hurricane hit, and I called him and I said, do I need to be worried? What should I do? And he said, well, why don't you ask the mayor? He's sitting right next to me. And what I took away from that is what's important for me as a town council person is to be reachable and accessible to my fellow citizens to focus on, again, some of the things that I think are a priority, making sure that town residents have access priority first to Brownies Beach and the water park, making sure that we follow up on our Kellums Field initiative so that we have green space and safe walkable streets that I spent a lot of time on in the walkable community group. So all of these things are my job working with the citizens. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kersey?
Okay, I see, excuse me, I see my role as working with the other members of the town council to solve problems for the residents of Chesapeake Beach and the businesses of Chesapeake Beach, and just to foster ideas that make this place a better place to live. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to go over my time.
Okay, you redeem it to others. Okay, Mr. Pardick?
Thank you very much. I see my role on town council being serving the members of the community. And that includes working together as a team on town council to address the issues facing our residents. You know, a big focus of mine the past 4 years has been the opioid crisis. That has affected a lot of people in our town, in our county. And I think it was very important that everybody is represented by the council and that we do our best to ensure that the resources are provided to help everyone, not just the people who are happy and healthy, but those who are struggling. That is our responsibility as well. And of course, I want to be sure that we continue to make Chesapeake Beach a great place for families, residents, whether it's through a walkable community, through the expansion of recreational opportunities, all of those things. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Morris?
Yeah, thank you. 4 years ago, I ran on words such as engage, advance, strive, endorse, encourage, collaborate, and build. And I think all of those words are applicable to serving the capacity of a town council person. We got to help to encourage, our role is to help encourage and strengthen the variety in our services. We're taxpayer representatives and they put their trust in us for guiding public policy, judging short and long-term planning. I look forward to, if elected, collaborating with this council and with the mayor and taking us into the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Favre?
Yes, thank you for that question. Our role on town council is to serve. And as a councilman, our responsibilities are very broad. We have to be good stewards of the taxpayer dollars. We have to ensure vital services are maintained. You know, and some of these services may be taken for granted, like garbage pickup, for instance. Well, we need to make sure that our citizens receive those services uninterrupted. And this year with the COVID pandemic, that's one example of our success, where all of our services, whether it being water, garbage pickup, all those services were maintained uninterrupted by the COVID pandemic. We need to ensure long-term planning. I chair the Walkable Community Advisory Group, and we're developing a master plan to ensure safe pedestrian access across all of our town. And mainly we need to give back. You know, I make sure everyone I talk with, as I'm a councilman, I tell them, if you need to reach someone, give me a call. I'm here to serve. I'm here to help you. If I can't answer a question, I'll find you the answer. And that's our role. We need to be representatives of the town and representatives of our local government. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Jaworski?
Thank you. I think there's two components to answer this question. One is the bigger picture, and that is the experience I had. For those who don't know, I have a bachelor's and a master's in civil engineering and spent 40 plus years doing civil engineering work. And one thing I learned is, in order to solve the problem, you have to listen and you have to solicit input from both sides of the issue and listen very carefully to both sides of that. But the most critical thing is you have to come to a decision. So you need to get the input but you need to come to a decision. And that's what this current council has been able to do for the past 4 years. I think bigger picture also is fiscal responsibility that you've seen with the reduced taxes and paying off the debt. The more immediate issues I see, and this comes from my Economic Development Committee background, has to do with COVID-19, helping our local residents and our local businesses recover from this pandemic as quickly and as safely as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Evans.
Yeah, my role on council, I see working with the other 5 councilmen or councilwomen. We need to be a solid, cohesive team to be able to accomplish anything, really. And also being the voice of the people is important. Kind of like what the others said. You need to take every question you get. You need to go after it and get the answer. You need to address everybody's concerns so that every resident feels like they have a voice. And also, I'd like to bring new ideas to the town, like possibly a dog park or connecting the railway trail to the school, or just increasing walkability. Also helping out our small businesses in any way we can, especially during COVID, and keeping our residents safe with the water park and the beach for Chesapeake Beach residents only. I think that's important during these times. Thank you.
Thank you. The second question, the order of response will be Mr. Kersey, Mr. Pardick, Mr. Evans, Mr. Favre, Mr. Fink, Ms. Bodine, Mr. Morris, and Mr. Jaworski. And that question is, what are 3 priorities that you will address as an elected member of the town council? Mr. Kersey.
Number 1 is I'd like to address the walkability. The second is the gambling. And the third one is I'm having a brain freeze. I'm sorry. Now just those 2. That's basically what I'm concerned about. I don't have a third, not today anyway.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Pardick.
Yeah, thank you very much. 3 priorities. Number 1 is dealing with the effects of COVID on the town budget, being sure we're fiscally solvent and can help our residents and our business to the extent possible. The second is the opioid crisis. I was just looking online, and unfortunately 12 people have passed away due to COVID here in Calvert County. And I believe it's 18 for opioid overdoses who have passed away this year. So it is a big issue still here in the county, here in the town. Has to be addressed. The third is improving the recreational opportunities here in the town. We've already gotten a great start on that in terms of walkability, in terms of the park improvements near Kellums Field, in terms of doing our comprehensive plan. But again, I think there's the opportunity for some pocket parks here in the town. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Evans.
Hi, as a planning commissioner right now, we're working on the 2040 comprehensive plan. So I think working with the planning commission closely on listening to the town's residents' input on that survey and accomplishing a lot of those goals would be one of my priorities. Also, the walkability and connecting the town sidewalks and trails. I think that's a huge asset. It relieves traffic and allows people to get their exercise. And also supporting our current businesses, and also supporting new businesses that want to come to the town, small businesses and things like coffee shops, bike shops, whatever we can do to increase some of those that I think the people would enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Favre.
Yes, thank you for this question. So as I said, I'm the chair of the Walkable Community Advisory Group. So walkability and pedestrian safety are near and dear to my heart. So I want to ensure that our vision in the master plan is implemented, as well as the safe routes to school, sidewalk to the elementary school. I want to ensure we perform adequate fiscal planning, both short-term and long-term, and include positioning ourselves to pay off town debt, long-term debt. And then finally, addressing all the needs of our families and our businesses, whatever they may be, being available, listening to them, and ensuring that we can help them achieve what they want in their lives, in their businesses.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Fink?
Well, for those of you who know me, you know I'm an avid walker. I've walked in parts of this town that, you can't really walk in except at low tide. And sometimes even then, it's not a great idea. I have spent a lot of time with my fellow council member, Mr. Favre, on the Walkable Committee, and we have crafted some remarkable plans. And number one priority to me is to create a safe, appealing, pedestrian-friendly town that's well-connected. And that leads me right to my second bullet, which is that's directly going to help businesses. It's going to bring people here on foot, ready to walk into shops, restaurants, and so on. And I think that's critical as we recover from COVID safely, that we do those things to protect and help our businesses. And lastly, I want to continue the fiscal responsibility. Some of my fellow council folks mentioned it, and I think it's critical that we are good stewards of your tax dollars. We work hard on getting grants for a lot of the work that we do, and you'll see that in our proposals. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bodin?
Yes, thank you for this question. It's really quite straightforward, and that's our town resident security and safety as we recover from the whole COVID and pandemic issues, and that includes fiscally. So basically just town security and safety. Second would be more budgetary. I would like to ensure that we long-term save enough money, set it aside, and pay off our long-term debt early, saving $200,000 in interest, and being a municipality in the state of Maryland completely debt-free by February 2027. That's a goal. Along those budgetary line, I'd like to see us advocate for a budget line item for green space purchases. Specifically, one can think of the B Street collapse, and we were able to purchase a property in that area for a potential pocket park. And so the idea would be to create a specific line item, set money aside for some future land purchase that we might not be aware of now, but when that opportunity arises, we'll have that money.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Mr. Morris?
We're constantly engaged in innumerable fronts, and the sky's really the limit for the next council. Three priorities I would have, probably not in any particular order. There are a lot of priorities. One would be continued fiscal responsibility. We've eliminated a significant amount of town debt. We have some challenges ahead, and I'm certain and confident we can get through those easily. We're continued advancement of town business. Avoiding some of the gridlock that we've seen in certain years past has been a top priority of mine this past 4 years, and I'm glad to say that there hasn't been gridlock, and I've been an advocate for advancing town business. Sometimes you don't always have a complete plan, but moving forward is important. And the third is near to my heart, and that's to encourage a true comprehensive plan for the Kellums Field complex and other green spaces in town. And I'd like to find a way to unlock what is the largest green space in town, which is Kellums Field, for the daily use of anybody. Maybe a father may want to fly a kite with his son. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jaworski?
Thank you. I'll echo a number of comments that my colleagues have made, and I'll add to that. I believe continued fiscal responsibility, as has been mentioned. I participated last week in the Maryland Municipal League Conference, and one of the speakers that I attended was cautioning municipalities that the fiscal impacts of the COVID pandemic may not actually impact our budgets for another year or two. So I think we need to be particularly vigilant going forward. Second, I would address continued appropriate economic development in our town, and I stress that word appropriate. We need to be maintaining our small town charm as we go forward with improvements. And then finally, climate change. I was able to complete the training to become a certified climate change professional this past year. And I think it's important that our town begin to look at that long-term as to what the town can do to further protect our businesses and residents. Thank you.
Well, thank you. The third question posed is, do you support expanded gambling? Please explain why. And the order would be Mr. Evans, Mr. Kersey, Mr. Morris, Mr. Favre, Mr. Pardick, Ms. Bodine, Mr. Jaworski, and Mr. Fink. So Mr. Evans, you start this one off.
Short answer is no, I do not support expanded gambling. I do not believe that our town is prepared with the infrastructure and the amount of people that would bring to bring table games and slot machines. But go ahead. As far as the sports betting, that's I kind of have a different opinion on that. I don't think that would bring too many people to the town. You kind of just fill out your ticket, hand it in, and leave. So I wouldn't be opposed to sports betting, but I would be opposed to expanded gambling such as table games and slot machines, stuff like that. Thanks. I think I lost the timer.
Mr. Fun, I think you're on mute.
Sorry, you're right. Mr. Kersey, thank you.
The short answer is no, I don't support expanded gambling. I don't think it fits in the atmosphere of the town. I don't think we need the extra traffic and all that goes along with it. There's not a whole lot more I can say about it. No, I don't support it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Morris?
I'd like to remind everybody that regarding the gambling in town, the state can elect to do anything it chooses. However, I do not support an expansion to full casino licenses. I don't feel that we need that here in town. And I also feel that it's going to be shown that the residents resoundingly don't want that here. I am in favor of the sports book. I know many of us enjoy fantasy football and sports pools and things of that sort. And I don't. Everybody that I've spoken to, and I make a point to speak to people about these issues, I haven't met one person that is in support of expanding casino licensing. I'm sure some of the businesses are, but and I haven't met one person that is against the sports books. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Favre?
Yes, thank you. As Greg indicated, the decision on expanding gambling is really up to the state. It's not up to us. However, I did advocate for these ballot questions to be on the ballot this year because we really need to know, and in fact, more importantly, our state representatives need to know what our citizens want in this area. In regards to my opinion, I am not in support of full casino gaming. However, I am open to sports betting for some of the reasons that have been mentioned before. I think it's a much lower impact expansion that would help our businesses per se, but without some of the detriment that we may face with expanded full casino gaming. So no to full casino gaming, and I'm open to sports betting. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pardick?
Thank you for the question. No, I'm not in favor of expanded gambling in the town. I don't think it's, I think it's antithetical to the small town atmosphere and the family friendly atmosphere. And so, no, I am not. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Bodine?
Yes, thank you for this question. In the 2016 election, I pledged to oppose any effort to bring in casino-type table games into our town. The results of these efforts and by the town council are these two ballot questions. This is our chance to let our voices be heard loud and clear with our leaders in Annapolis that the residents of Chesapeake Beach do not want casino gambling. The answer to the ballot questions are not binding, but they'll send a message, and hopefully Annapolis will hear that message when we vote with a resounding no. And that is my fervent hope. As for sports betting, much like the other guys have said, I'm interested in the results of this question. And my promise to you is that I'll review the results voiced by the voters. I don't really have an opinion on the sports gambling. As for the revenue implications for the town coffers, the ballot question does not affect our current revenue position from the slots and pull tab bingo gambling that currently exists. So there's really no financial implications. So vote no.
Thank you. Mr. Jaworski?
I mentioned earlier with the bachelor's and master's degree in civil engineering, I know the math and the odds are not in my favor in terms of gambling, so I'm not a gambler. I do think, as I mentioned earlier, one of the obligations of being elected to the town council is to seek input from our residents, and that's indeed why we have the 2 ballot questions for us, and has also been mentioned. I think it's important that we get that input. However, the decision is not in the town's hands. This will be in the state's hands, but I think the answers to those ballot questions will provide us additional support as we go forward in looking at this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Fink?
Yeah, I mean, categorically, I oppose the expansion of casino gambling. It doesn't even remotely fit with our small town. And I've been in this town long enough to remember when some of the establishments had slots in bars and restaurants, and it was a very different experience from what you have now with some of the local stores and restaurants where that's not really the focus. So I am not in favor of expanding casino gambling. I think the sports book is an open question. I would like to learn more about it. The research that I have done, it may be that question becomes moot as sports booking becomes much more of a remote activity. And lastly, I want to just echo what my fellow council folks said regarding the ballot initiatives. Yes, the state of Maryland can do whatever they want, but having results from a ballot initiative from the locale is really important. So make your voice heard when you go out and vote for your mayor and town council. Also make a clear, conscious choice on that ballot initiative. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll now take one of the questions that came from the audience. The order of response would be Mr. Evans, Mr. Jaworski, Ms. Bodine, Mr. Pardick, Mr. Favre, Mr. Morris, Mr. Kersey, and Mr. Fink. And that question is, what is your communication plan with the residents to ensure that your votes and decisions throughout your 4-year term have at least consideration of the residents' input and comments? Mr. Evans.
Okay, so I have created a Facebook page for myself, and that would be my main line of communication with the residents. So any residents that would like to ask me a question or have their voices heard, they can join the page. And any residents that I run into in the town, I'll definitely be open to having conversations with them if they have something on their mind or issues. Also, I was thinking of creating a Facebook page for the town or getting that set up so that we could receive input that way and communicate to everyone as needed. I'm also on the Nextdoor app. I'm sure some people have seen me on there. I try to ask for input on there and follow up with everyone on that also. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jaworski.
Well, we live in a small town, and it's almost impossible when you go out shop at Roland's or any of the other local stores that you don't bump into someone and just start a discussion and learn what people are feeling about various issues in town. I think this council and mayor have done a pretty good job of making everything as open as possible. We certainly are bound by the Open Meetings Act. We try very hard to adhere to that. I think if there is anything good to be said about the pandemic, it's the fact that our meetings have been on Zoom, and it allows people to join in on the meetings via Zoom. Even when we finally are able to go back to some real life. I would like to see us continue to do the Zoom meetings just to provide the opportunity to more people. And then finally, each of the council members and the mayor has a town email that's very open to the public, and we always are looking for input from anybody. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Bodine?
Yes, I think the best way to find out what the residents think is to be out and about. And I do this through a variety of activities that I'm involved in, whether it be in Hunger, the Twin Beach Players, Chesapeake Cares Food Pantry, helping out with the Beach Elementary School when they hold their parties on the tennis courts. Being out and about is as important as anything else. And I'll agree with what one of the previous candidates said. And I think that the idea of having Zoom meetings up and available even after COVID is over is a wonderful idea. I do think that the town has done a much better job in communicating through the email blast that we currently have. I think in many ways it might have replaced at some level the newsletter because it is so current as to the activities that are occurring. And I think we could probably do a little bit more with social media. I think North Beach beats us a little bit there when you look at their Facebook page. I'd like to see that stepped up a bit. But as for myself individually, I do it through activity and being out and about in the town and talking to everyone that I meet. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pardik?
Thank you very much. So communication with the residents is very important. You know, a couple of things that we've done this past 4 years. One is we've advocated as a council to the administration, and they heard us, was to improve the web page that we had. So the one we had previously was outdated. It was very hard to find anything. So now we have more of a more modern website. It's easier to find things. It's searchable. And so that was a great improvement. We also advocated for the bi-weekly, or I should say twice weekly, email blasts from the town to help improve communication with our residents. So that was great to see going forward. And in terms of continuing communication, I chair one committee. I'm out there in the community. I'm talking with folks, and I'm always welcome to hear more. And I want to hear more from the residents. And thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Favre?
Yes, thank you for this question. This administration, we've significantly expanded our communications between town hall and residents, and many of those ways have been mentioned already. As Larry mentioned, our emails are online and easily found on our website. We get emails all the time. I know I do, and I respond to every one of them. The e-blasts are a great source of information every week. We have monthly work sessions now, as Valerie alluded to. These are advertised and open to the public, and some are better attended than others, but we always, every one of us advocates for more participation by our residents. Our meeting minutes are all available online. Our newsletters are full of good information with our committees and just good to know information. All of our committee meetings, again, are advertised and open to the public. And one thing, and I'll give props to the mayor, he's recently begun recording a very short video highlighting the information that's presented or decisions that are made that we make in our town council meetings. And that gets shared with the town. And it's just another great resource to share information with the public. Thank you.
Mr. Morris?
Yes, our online presence is head and shoulders above from what we had. I would like to continue to encourage Town Hall to develop a Facebook page. My personal experience here in Richfield Station, we've got a Neighborhood Watch Facebook page. And we don't always comment on that, but it's a good place to hear what's on the community's mind. And that's an important outlet there. I'd like to say that I pride myself in outreaching to all corners. I'm party unaffiliated, and it's natural for me to represent all taxpayers and engage all taxpayers. And Valerie and Larry are right. In our everydays, going to Roland's or Mama Lucia's, Rod and Reel, local happenings, or just a Beach Bucks game, engaging voters and engaging residents. It's all geared towards better policy with all things considered. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kersey?
Well, we have the town website, which I have noticed is much better than it used to be, but it's only one way. So I think if we did a Facebook page, and if there is one already, I don't know about it. So that's a problem right there. Should take advantage of virtual meetings, like using Zoom or whatever for the town council meetings, and record them and have them available for later, because not everyone can attend them live. If you run into me while I'm in town, that's fine. You can stop me and ask me a question. I do like the newsletter. As an older guy with reading glasses, I just like to sit down and read something next to a bright light. And some people like the internet. I like that, but I also like to get the newsletter because it's a summary of what's going on. I like that. And I have my own email address, Gary4TC, Town Council at gmail.com. So you can ask me questions if you want privately, and I'll give you a personalized response. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Fink?
Well, I've had actually quite a bit of experience in getting communication out to folks. In my couple of years on planning and zoning, we were at the beginning of the comprehensive plan, and it was a big focus for us to solicit community input. And one of the things that we learned in doing that, but that we followed very closely in doing that, is that digital is great, but it's only one way. And we made sure to have a presence on signage at the library, on the board at Rollins, anywhere we could to, really reach out to citizens. I'd also tell you that I spent a number of years running the Seagate HOA. And during that time, I could never take the garbage down without someone coming up with an idea. Some good, some better than others. And it goes back to what I said when I said, what's my job as a council person? It's to be approachable, because the best way to learn about what citizens want is to hear from them. And if that happens to be in the cereal aisle at Rollins, I'm all ears. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Unfortunately, we have time for one more question from the audience. And after this, then you'll do your closing statements. Now, the question, I have to pull it up, is okay. What is the long-range plan for maintaining our precious parks? Vines are overtaking and killing the shrubs and trees in both Bayfront Park and the rail trail. There are also invasive plants that are outcompeting the local plants and destroying wildlife habitat. And the order of response in this would be Mr. Evans, Mr. Pardick, Mr. Fink, Mr. Jaworski, Mr. Kersey, Mr. Morris, Mr. Favre, and Ms. Bodine. So Mr. Evans, would you start, please?
Okay, well, I think this year was a little different than the previous years. I don't remember seeing those kind of vines and shrubs overtaking the trails in previous years, but I did notice it the other day on the railway trail. So I think that's just something that the town needs to communicate with Public Works or the Green Team, or and also bringing new parks to the town, whether it be expanding the Kellums Field open space or finding open space elsewhere. I think just being able to increase our open space and maintaining what we do have through Public Works is what we need to do long term. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Pardick?
There we go. Had a little trouble with the mute button. So thank you. Yeah, so I think there's an opportunity here for the town of Chesapeake Beach to do a little bit better in terms of maintaining its park space. We all want to increase it, but in doing so, we're also going to be increasing the maintenance needs on those. I find it interesting and promising that North Beach, which is about half our size, has somebody kind of dedicated towards environmental tourism, but also towards their parks. And that might be an area that we can explore, maybe partnering with them to have somebody who is actually dedicated to the care and maintenance of our green space as kind of as a parks department type of idea. Otherwise, you know, I know the town does a pretty good job of trying to maintain those areas, but occasionally they do get behind in getting the vines trimmed and that kind of thing. So it'd be great to see that handled a little more effectively. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Fink?
It's a great question. The first thing I want to say is, with all due respect to whoever asked the question, our public works folks, you know, work their tails off to keep things in the best condition that they can, and I think they do a great job, and I really salute them for that. I think COVID has had an impact on the ability for folks to get out and about. But I think the other thing that people are starting to notice, you know, when we were working on the comprehensive plan on the planning and zoning group, we were very conscious of the shifting landscape. Chesapeake Beach is a waterfront town surrounded by the bay on one side and natural wetlands on the other. And I think a fair amount of our green space is morphing and changing. Nature is going to reclaim some of the land. And I think we need to really identify the green space that we want to keep. And then focus on making sure that we take care of that, keeping safe passage for all citizens who want to go out and use it. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jaworski?
I agree with a number of points that have already been made. One is commending our public works staff for the great job that they're doing. However, I've also noticed that we've had some issues, particularly this year. It's been a strange year in terms of weather, so I don't know that's the norm. In terms of new parks, I'm looking forward to the comprehensive plan addressing part of that. I think the walkability of our town encourages the need for some additional parks as we look at the changing demographics, and that's code for old people like myself wanting to get out and be a little bit more mobile. And coupled with the fact that this work from home thing that we're seeing as part of the pandemic is not going to go away. It's going to continue. So people are going to have a lot more time to be out and about. And then finally, as I mentioned about the course I completed on climate change is going to mandate that we take a closer look at those kinds of green spaces and open spaces as part of our approach to protecting against climate change. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kersey?
So if it's just overgrown bushes and vines and whatnot, that just might be something that maintenance needs to handle. If it's an actual invasive species, it's a complicated thing to handle because you have to figure out what it is, identify it, in other words, and then take an action that's appropriate for that kind of invasive species. But I don't know if it is or if it isn't. I don't know how overgrown it is. One person's neatness is another person's mess. It just depends on what it is, especially if it's an invasive species. So it's hard to answer that question without more information. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Morris?
Yes, the town has a green team. And in my experience, the past 3.5 years, our green team deserves more levity than they've been getting. They deserve an expanded budget. Frankly, I'm surprised this issue with the vines is still an issue, because this is something that was identified by our qualified green team quite a while back. And I definitely would like to see Town Hall more engaged in solving these priorities. We want to strengthen our green team. We also need to lean on its valuable volunteers there for insight. I'm really not concerned about the costs in this. In maintaining these special places, it's the least we can do for our residents. I've always said it's completely appropriate for this town to be more than the status quo. And we should be striving to be a leader on green efforts here, not just do enough. And I'm not diminishing the accomplishment of the Green Certified in Maryland. That's a great program in itself, but we should be striving to be more. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. Mr. Favre, I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you. So we do have a proactive green team. And we need to engage the green team. They can identify the solutions to some of these issues. And then it's our responsibility to give them the resources that they need to address it. We have regularly scheduled trail cleanup sessions every year. If we need to increase the frequency of those to combat some of these issues, that's an easy fix. And also, I really believe expanded walkability will lead to better maintenance. The more our residents get out and around in our town, the more we're going to identify these issues early, and the more quickly and the more thoroughly we can address these issues. And I also just want to say our public works, they have broad responsibility, but in my experience, they've always been very responsive to issues like this. And I too want to commend them for the fantastic work that they do every day, and specifically in this case, to ensuring that our boardwalks are safe, our trails are safe, and everything that goes along with that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Bodine?
Yes, for this specific problem, you're going to hear a lot of the same things again. I think we should engage our green team, see if they can come up with the best approach to handle the invasive species. And then once they decide what the best course of action is from the green team, we could implement it either through, as other councilmen have said, and candidates, more cleanup days like we currently have for Bayfront Park and for the railway trail, and a combination of public works and their equipment and their expertise. And so many of the ideas that you've already heard, I just reiterating. And so this specific problem of cleaning up invasive species, we need to identify the problems with the green team hopefully, or possibly contacting MML, Maryland Municipal League, if they give any advice, and then engaging, once we get the green team's advice, with our public works and possibly our town volunteers, which we do a great job having town volunteers do cleanup days.
Thank you. Unfortunately for some, and maybe fortunately for others, we've reached the end of the question and answer period. And we'd like to ask the candidates to begin their closing statements. Those questions that have not been asked, perhaps you can contact the candidates one-on-one and get your questions answered. But in order of the closing statements will be Mr. Evans, Mr. Pardick, Mr. Morris, Mr. Jaworski, Ms. Bodine, Mr. Fink, Mr. Favre, and Mr. Kersey. So Mr. Evans, would you start your closing statement?
Sure. I'd like to say thank you to everyone for having me, and it's nice to see you all again. And like I said earlier, it's been great watching these guys work. I think they've done a great job, and I just want to be a part of it. And if I don't get voted in, I'll continue to serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission and just work on that 2040 comprehensive plan, and hopefully work with town council on a couple of things. I'm just really honored and excited to watch my kids grow up here and enjoy the town and everything it has to offer. We've made many friends here, and I've got to know a couple of the councilmen and the mayor, and I think it's just a great place to live, and it would be a great place to serve on the council. Everybody have a good night, and I'll see you later. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Pardick?
Thank you very much. And I'd like once again thank the League of Women Voters for setting up this forum and giving us the opportunity to express our views, and for the residents to get an opportunity to see where we stand on the different issues. I look forward to serving you again for another 4 years if you will re-elect me. I think that would be great. I think there's a lot of important work that this council has started already and would like to continue, whether that's the walkable community, the comprehensive plan, getting the steps set up for that. Of course, the opioid coalition, we have a lot of work to do there as well. And I'm also looking forward to improving the recreational opportunities in town. And I believe, as Mr. Jaworski said, I think also the town needs to be looking forward towards climate change stopgap measures. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Morris.
Thank you. This mayor, your council, and our town hall have rock and rolled this past 4 years. Again, it's been an amazing journey for me in serving. Our town is light years ahead from where it was last election. Our advancements in administration organization, its accuracy, its control of services are the best they've ever been. This has resulted in increased town services, decrease in taxes, strengthened trust in local government, and yes, there is work to be done here in insulating these offices from for-profit outside influences. I'm committed to transparency and council inclusion in all matters important to our taxpayers. I want to discuss matters in open forum while outreaching to all corners of our community. Our town hall must be of the people and by the people. Otherwise, it's something else. I'm excited, committed, and energized for 4 more years. Please vote for me November 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jaworski.
Thank you, Mr. Fun and League of Women Voters for posting this tonight, and all the participants. The last time I checked, we had like 65 people on the Zoom meeting here. If I'm fortunate to be reelected to another 4-year term, I pledge to continue to closely monitor town budgets, particularly in terms of the possible impacts of this pandemic, to continue to assist residents and local businesses in recovering from this pandemic, utilize the knowledge gained from the completion of the Academy for Excellence in Local Government to further improve our town, utilize knowledge gained from the Climate Change Academy to begin to address the possible future impacts on our beautiful small town here, continue to work for appropriate economic development, and continue to work as a member of the Remediation Advisory Board for the cleanup at the Naval Research Lab. There's more info available on my Facebook site, Reelect Jaworski 2020. Thank you, good night, and please vote.
Thank you. Ms. Bodine.
Yes, thank you. I want to thank the League of Women Voters, and I want to thank the voters of Chesapeake Beach for the faith that they have had in me over the years. And I look forward to the opportunity to continue to serve you. This term on town council, I want to first and foremost ensure that casino type table games do not come to our town. So please vote no on that ballot. Also, I want to see if we can get to be debt free by February 2027. And I would like to see us set aside money and create a budget line item for future green space purchases, a funded line item that we could use when an opportunity arises to actually buy that property and create a green space for our town. And finally, through the comprehensive plan currently in development, planning and zoning, and having listened to their meetings, I'm encouraged. I am very encouraged in the direction that they are going with height limits, decreasing and maintaining housing density throughout the town, and the redevelopment possibilities of the town center. We must maintain our small town way of life, and look forward to you voting. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Fink.
Well, thanks. Thanks to everyone who made this event possible. You know, I walked into town hall my very first week in town to pay my water bill, and I was volunteered. Next thing you know, I'm pulling trash out of Fishing Creek, and next thing you know, I'm meeting a lot of folks. Someone said, "Hey, there's a spot on planning and zoning. I think you'd be a good fit," and on it goes to the point where you really become invested in the town. And I just, as I mentioned in the beginning, it's really been an honor to serve with this mayor and this council. If I'm fortunate enough to be reelected, I've talked about my goals. I want to really see some of the walkability work all the way through that we've started. The acquisition of Kellums Field, the redevelopment there. In addition, you know, maintaining our fiscal responsibility. And I really look forward to that opportunity. What I would say in closing to everyone is vote. Vote by mail, vote on November 3rd in person, but just vote. As painful as it is for probably to say, I would rather have you vote for someone else than not vote at all. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you. Mr. Favre.
Yes, thank you. I want to thank Mr. Fun and the League of Women's Voters for hosting this forum tonight. I also want to thank Mayor Mahoney, our fabulous town staff and volunteers, and especially my colleagues on council. I've enjoyed working closely with each of you, especially Valerie, working with you to fix the utility fund and develop a plan to pay off debt. Greg and the mayor, working with you to promote youth sports and town ownership of Kellens Field. Keith, our joint interest in Brownies Beach and supporting your opioid group. Larry, working with you to get the new sidewalk installed at the shopping center. Charlie and our absolutely fantastic volunteers on the Walkable community group, developing the walkability vision for the town. The list goes on and on. None of us can do this job alone. Everything we were able to achieve was a result of good communication and collaboration, things that have not always been prevalent in our local government. It's truly been a pleasure working with you all, and I hope for the opportunity to continue serving the residents of this great town for 4 more years. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Kersey.
So thanks for putting this together. I like to say the reason why I'm running for town council is because of the beach, because I've lived here for a long time. I think this is a great place to live. And the second reason is that I think, and from my personal experience, that it's a bad idea to completely reelect everybody that's already on the town council. I think it's important to rotate some people out and rotate some new people in. I'm not saying anyone has done a bad job or anything. That's my feeling. And it'd be hypocritical of me to say, well, I think someone should step in and just sit back and wait for someone to step in, so stepping up. And so that's why I'm running. So thank you all. Thanks for the questions. This was a lot of fun. Chesapeake Beach is great. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, Mr. Kersey. I take that was not a pun when you said this was a lot of fun. At this time, we will move forward with the candidates for mayor of Chesapeake Beach. And I thank you, those that were running for council, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Our candidates for mayor this evening in alphabetical order are Stuart B. Combo, Joshua Johnson. Is he present?
Start your video.
And Patrick J. Paren Irish close Paren Mahoney. Is Joshua Johnson out there, perhaps on another venue or phone call?
I have asked if he is in attendance. I do not see him on the list, and he has not responded to any note to any of the attendees.
Okay, we will go with what we have then. With respect, excuse me, with respect to the order in which questions will be answered by the candidates, the online application random.org was again used. The random sequence is exactly as described in the town council candidates. 3 candidates are running, but 2 are present for the office of mayor of Chesapeake Beach. Mr. Combo is the first name alphabetically, and therefore he is candidate number 1. Since Mr. Johnson is not here, Ms. Mahoney is the last name alphabetically and is therefore candidate 2. We'd like to start by offering the candidates for mayor the opportunity to give 1-minute opening statements.
Are you on mute?
We ask that the candidates respect the time allowed and stop speaking when the countdown clock expires. Each candidate will also be given 1 minute to respond to the question posed. So opening statements, the order would be Mr. Combo and then Mr. Mahoney.
Ready? Greetings, everyone, and thank you, the League of Women Voters, for the invitation. Please go to my website, stuartcumbo.com, for further information. Why Stuart Cumbo for mayor? Results you can see. I am experienced, qualified, and you know me. I have been your councilman for 19 years, resided in Chesapeake Beach for over 30 years, and accomplished a great deal. For example, I have procured millions of dollars in state and federal grants, chaired and led the renovation of Town Hall, partnered with Mayor Bruce Wall on the development and funding of the Hiker Biker Trail, instrumental in the upgrade of Veterans Park and obtaining funding for its improvements, responsible for the town's recognition as a banner city, stopped dramatic increases in water and sewer rates. I've developed the town's emergency notification system and protocol through our partnership with the county. I've chaired the Water Park Advisory Committee and was instrumental in the oversight, risk management, and policy implementations of the water park, and convinced the mayor and council on the new concept of a senior citizens playground that led to the grant for funding on the site. Again, thank you. And in my closing statement, I'll talk about my plans as your mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Mahoney.
Thank you, League of Women Voters, the other 10 candidates, and audience for participating. It's been an honor serving as your mayor these 4 years. I have run this town right for 4 years. Chesapeake Beach ended the fiscal year 20 budget with a $2.1 million surplus. I bring proven leadership and fiscal responsibility to the office. During this pandemic, we rebalanced our fiscal year 21 budget while keeping our tax decrease in place with no loss of services and no increased cost to the citizens. We did not tap into our reserves. We kept you and your families informed and safe. This town has been run right. If reelected, you are guaranteed strong leadership, fiscal responsibility, with citizen services at the top of my priority list. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll begin the question and answer portion of the program. The order would be Mr. Mahoney and then Mr. Cumbo. First question is, what do you think is the most pressing issue facing Chesapeake Beach at this time?
Well, I think we have a few, but I think the most pressing issue is public safety. And it's public safety as it relates to enforcing the COVID regulations so we can limit out-of-town visitors and allow our town citizens to enjoy their amenities safely. I think we need to increase our police patrolling in neighborhoods, be it bicycle and auto. I would say that is the number one.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cumbo?
Thank you, Mr. Fun. I believe that my three priorities are to build and restore trust in the Chesapeake Beach town government. I also believe that leadership and management is a very strong priority. And I believe that the infrastructure, controlling utilities and taxes, avoiding dramatic or actually any increases. Fortunately, we haven't had increases in taxes over 20 years. I like to keep it that way, and I'll continue to fight to keep our utility rates low and avoid any increases in those utility rates. So those are my three priorities.
Thank you. The second question is, how do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making process in our town? Mr. Cumbo, you would start that, and then Mr. Mahoney.
Well, we're a small town, and I would be a small town mayor. I have an open door policy. I believe in transparency. You can come into the town hall anytime, and you can access me, and you can talk with me. I'm retired. I'll be around. When the former Bruce Wall was mayor, he and I used to do what we call windshield tours in the town of Chesapeake Beach. We would ride throughout the town to seek problems, road repairs, things that needed to be fixed. We'd have an opportunity to speak with neighbors in their neighborhood to see the things that need to be done and things that need to be taken care of. And that's an opportunity for me to communicate with them. I would, through the email system within the town, assure that email is monitored on a daily basis and responded to. And one thing that I would institute is that as mayor, that if you have a complaint in town and you notify the town, I'm going to send you a letter from the mayor that we received your complaint. And then I'm going to send you a letter to give you a final disposition of that complaint. So you're sure that the town has received it, understood your complaint, and has given you a final disposition of how that complaint was handled. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Mahoney.
The key to being a good mayor is to be approachable and to listen. And that's the advantage of living in a small town. If you shop locally and you're out, look forward to people approaching you, listen to what they have to say, give them your card if you need to talk further, but follow up. The town has been very transparent these past 4 years with things that my administration instituted. Email blast, a new website, live stream meetings. I do a monthly mayor's video I receive a lot of emails from town, which the town administrator and I respond to. In 4 years, I've responded to every email that I received from a citizen with a resolution. But as I said, I think the key is just to be approachable and one of the people. Attend the events, be a part of your community. And I've done this for 25 years. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question, and Mr. Mahoney, you would start. Given our present climate crisis and its effect on Maryland coastal communities, what initiatives will you pursue to address it?
Well, the first thing I did as mayor was to partner with the Maryland DNR and be a part of their sea rise efforts. Okay, we've myself and members of the council have joined their leadership coalition to address these issues. I think what we've done now in town is looked at sea level rise out to the year 2050, and everything that we do when we look at any sort of improvement or anything, it's with the sea level rise till 2050 data in front of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Malcolm. The town has many resources. We can work through our DNR. We can work with the Maryland Municipal League. We can also work with our partners in Southern Maryland who are experiencing the same problems that we have. As you may or may not know, we meet regularly through the Southern Maryland Municipal League Association, and we discuss things that are occurring within municipalities and how they're handling problems and new projects and things that they're doing. But I think through working with our resources of DNR and, as I mentioned, the Maryland Municipal League, we can have the experts that can give us the information we need to know the effects of and the type of tidal surge that we would have as this sea rise begins to affect our beach communities.
Okay, thank you. The next question, Mr. Cumbo, you would start this. Do you think our Main Street downtown is healthy and successful? If not, what would you do to change that?
That's a good question. I was part of the committee that was involved with the streetscape project in Chesapeake Beach. We've come a long ways. I've been in this town for 30 years and have seen the transition in Chesapeake Beach. The new roads with the improvement in Fishing Creek Bridge to allow the boats to weather the bridge and a wider lanes so we can access the shopping community downtown, and just the beautification of entering into Chesapeake Beach with the Veterans Park. I hope to do a gateway entrance up near where the clock is maintained. But I think it's been very beneficial to the town, and I've been part of that committee that have brought this streetscape and part of assisting in getting the grants to do the improvements in the town of Chesapeake Beach.
Thank you. Mr. Mahoney?
I think our Main Street has improved greatly since I've been mayor. I started the first ever Economic Development Committee in town. It's chaired by Councilman Jaworski and Morris, and we've integrated everything from that into our administration. I also began the first town Walkability coalition, and these go hand in hand. We've been very successful in terms of having the first ever Taste of the Beaches event in town that brings over 2,000 people a year. We've had new businesses in town. Mama Lucia, the minority-owned daycare where children grow happy. The women-owned Tangle Salon and Calvert Kettle Corn. We have a new pub 1936. We have a paving business and many more. So, given the geographic terrain of our town, I think we've been very successful in becoming more than a one-shop town. We have lots of reasons for people to come here and to live here. Thank you.
The next question is tied into that one. What are your plans to improve the walkability of Chesapeake Beach? Should the town continue to expand the Fishing Creek trails by linking the ends of the trails? And Mr. Mahoney, you would start, and then Mr. Cumbo, you would be second.
Well, that's a fabulous question, because when I became mayor, the first thing that we really addressed in that realm was to begin having a sidewalk from Chesapeake Village up to Beach Elementary. And I have since then met with the county and state about taking those sidewalks and going all the way up Old Bayside. And then what it can do there ultimately, and it is in the plans, is connect with the railway trail at that point. Additionally, we have other ends of town that need to be able to walk into the center of town. When you take the north end, okay, they need to be able to connect into the center. We've done a good job with the railroad trail for folks in Bayview Hills and Richfield Station. Well, we need to do a better job in terms of getting the folks down the highway, Cox Road, that needs work. And this is all in the walkability group's plans. And I support it 100%, always have and will. It's my baby. I started it, and we're going to proceed and move forward with that. Thank you.
Could you repeat the question for me, please, Mr. Fine?
Sure. What are your plans to improve the walkability of Chesapeake Beach? Should the town continue to expand the Fishing Creek trails by linking the ends of the trails?
All right. First, there's a lot of credit. Mayor Donovan, Bruce Wall, to give credit for what they have done in terms of expansion and helping to get the Hiker Biker Trail project completed. I'd like to see that project expanded. It has always been a hope, and I had been part of that committee with the Hiker Biker Trail, working with Bruce to get the funding and the design of that trail. As I hope to connect that trail into Anne Arundel County, and that trail will run right through Washington and into Virginia. As far as the walkability, as mayor, I'm hoping to extend the sidewalk from Chesapeake Village up to Beach Elementary School and interconnect with our other sidewalk networks. I'd like to see the 260 corridor coming from downtown Chesapeake Beach to reach into Richfield Station. Although we have the Hiker Biker Trail that brings you down into the park area, I think we certainly need a sidewalk trail that will run along that 260 corridor to allow folks to come down our main entranceway into the town of Chesapeake Beach. So those are at least two projects as far as walkability that I want to get through. And I would like to see an extension of that Hiker Biker Trail to interconnect with Anne Arundel County to allow our neighbors to be able to bike and provide recreation down into Chesapeake Beach.
Okay, the next question, Mr. Combo, you would start this one. If elected, what steps would you take to put our town on a firmer financial footing?
Well, again, during my tenure as a town council member, we have done a great deal to lower our debt. And that's what I would continue to do as we look at our budget to see what loans that we could pay off. We have a $13 million total budget. And over the years, we've put substantial amounts of money both in rainy day funds and reserves. And there is a formula for municipalities that makes a determination, I think, of how much money should be in a rainy day fund and a reserve. And I think we've really overdone that, and is a disservice to the town. It's important to save money, and we'll do that. But I think that money outside of what we have in rainy day funds and reserves should be put back into the town for services and amenities and to help pay down debt. And that's what I would look at, is the additional amounts of money that are not necessary in terms of packing that rainy day fund and that reserve, and see if we can use some of that money to pay down debt.
Okay, Mr. Mahoney.
Fiscal responsibility has been the gem of this administration, to include the mayor and the current town council. We've decreased the tax rate 4 consecutive years. That's never been done in this town. We reduced our town debt by $6 million. We rebalanced the town budget for COVID at no increased cost to our citizens and no loss of services. I believe in reserves. It's times like these that you understand the need for the town to be solvent. Packing away money into reserves is a good thing. It's been a part of my last of the administration I'm in now, and I will continue to do that. Pay off debt, put money in reserves, and reduce taxes. That's what I am about. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mahoney, you would start this next question. How do you reconcile the town's dependence on tourism and the ban on short-term vacation rentals such as Airbnb?
Well, Airbnbs. This sort of weekend short-term rental has been illegal in Chesapeake Beach for 60 years. Our HOAs, which is 75% of the town, have additional restrictions on them. And the matter has been referred to planning and zoning to look at. Airbnbs bring nothing into town for the majority of our citizens. They pay no taxes. They have no health regulations or inspections during this COVID time. They disrupt the quiet neighborhood life and are the equivalent of having a hotel floor with a different party checking into the room next to you every Friday. Their contribution to our economy is minimal at best. Guests arrive with their own beverages and food. They put a strain on our local amenities and our local law enforcement because of the late night partying. As your mayor, I support small town neighborhoods where children grow up with neighborhood children and seniors enjoy the quiet life. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cumbo.
I completely disagree with the mayor's assessment. I think he's been a little disingenuous about Airbnbs and short-term rentals. Look, the town of Chesapeake Beach historically has been a resort and a destination. Folks were taking the train from Sea Pleasant to the town of Chesapeake Beach as a vacation area. And short-term rentals and long-term rentals historically have been a part of this beach. And to indicate that these things are illegal, I just disagree with that. I saw his news report on Channel 4 when he indicated that folks are coming down from Delaware and New Jersey from hot COVID states down in Chesapeake Beach, and where party houses were popping up throughout Chesapeake Beach. I've checked with law enforcement. There haven't been any outrageous, loud pop-up parties. It hasn't had any effect on the employment in Chesapeake Beach. It's indicated that the hotel is not going vacant as a result of bed and breakfasts. I support them, and I would probably one of the first things I would do as mayor is probably suspend this 30-day suspension on short-term rentals, and meet with the local realtors and homeowners that are providing Airbnbs and rentals, and give them an opportunity to voice their concerns about what we need to do to amend legislation to make it more applicable to our business.
Thank you. Thank you. The next question, and Mr. Cumbo, you would start this one. Do you feel the transportation options in our town are adequate? If not, what will you do to increase transportation options?
Well, early on when we had the little beach trolley in Chesapeake Beach, I was the first president of that organization and part of the organizational group who formed that group that helped bring folks from Harrington Harbor, from the marina down in the Chesapeake Beach so they can utilize the business in our town and get them back throughout the day. I know there are mass transportation buses that come in to take folks from Chesapeake Beach down into the Washington metropolitan areas. And it's very difficult to get any type of rail transportation and those types of things at Chesapeake Beach. It's just going to be a while for something like that would occur. We certainly don't want to see the new bridge for to take you across the Chesapeake Bay. That would ruin our small town. So no, I don't think we have adequate transportation needs. Should I become mayor, I'll certainly take a look at that and see what we could do to improve that. But right now, what we're using for folks that are commuting from Washington and Baltimore are chartered bus services. I would love to see some type of small bus service in town just to shuttle around our residences and tourists. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mahoney.
We do not need a bus service that comes from the major cities, Washington and Baltimore, to come into our town. We don't need them to come in, and we don't need them to go out. The beach trolley was a lot of fun and a resounding success for both towns. Unfortunately, for financial reasons, it went away. My first budget as mayor included funds to support that trolley association where it took them back. It did not, however. I think the answer to around town is to increase our walkability. People want to come down, people who live here, they want to come down home on Friday after working all week, park their car and not walk. They want to be able to walk from wherever they live to Rollins. They want to go to the drugstore, but they want to be able to walk, and they want to be able to walk safely, which is why we need our police as well to patrol our neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question, Mr. Mahoney, you would start this. What will you do to assist with the response to the behavioral health crisis we are experiencing?
Well, I think, it is an issue. It's an issue in the town. It's an issue in the county. I know the county is renting for the first time office space in town for that department. I think we need to continue to work with our county and have them share their resources to both of these beach towns. And that is with open dialogue. And we do have that with Calvert County. Thank you.
Ms. Flynn, I'm going to be quite honest with you. I'm not familiar with the behavioral health issue in town. It's something I'm going to do some homework on, a little research on, but I'm not familiar with the specific issue, so I can't address it at this time.
Okay. The next question, and Mr. Cumbo, you would start this one. If you support expanded gambling, please explain why this is good for the town.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. I don't have a for or against gambling, but I've listened to the majority of the council members who seem to oppose gambling. I want to give you a flip side of that, just so you understand the other side of the gambling issue. We're very fortunate. Most municipalities don't have additional revenue sources to bring income into their towns. We have one is a water park, which brings income and economic impact, not only within the town of Chesapeake Beach, but also within the county. But also the casino has brought in from anywhere from $700,000 to over $1 million in tax revenue. That is a benefit that most municipalities don't have. So when you look at things like reducing taxes and having raised taxes over the last 20 years, that is one of the reasons. We're fortunate to get a number of state grants from our state legislature and federal partners, but we have been fortunate to have this type of operation in town, and it has not brought any really negative impact upon the town. So I have no support for nor against. It's something that won't be my decision. It will be the decision of the state, and it'll be something that the council would have to address.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mahoney.
I oppose expanded gambling and will vote no on the ballot question. Enough is enough. Chesapeake Beach is a charming small town. We do not need any expanded gambling or the increase in related traffic. There's no additional added value to this small town. We have ball fields, an elementary school, playgrounds, a library here in the center of town. We do not need gambling to expand out into this where our children and families spend their day. We must protect our small town charm, and this is very important that the people of Chesapeake Beach join me in voting no, so we can send a resounding message up to our state legislator about protecting the small town charm of Chesapeake Beach. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, the next question, and Mr. Mahoney, you would start this one.
Mm-hmm.
Do you approve of ballot question B, which would allow sports betting licenses to be given to Chesapeake Beach venues?
That question is for the state of Maryland. Yes, I think that for the state of Maryland, the voters will approve that. It's my understanding that the sports gambling venues would be at the racetracks and the casinos. So that would be 6 plus maybe 3, 9 sites. Eventually, it will expand to online gambling. Keeping it located at the current casinos and racetracks is where we want it. We do not need that to come into the smaller towns. Thank you.
Again, I'm going to disagree with our current mayor. I don't know how over $1 million in tax revenue coming into our town is not an added value. Not only do we get the additional taxes, but if you look at the over $1 million economic impact of the rod and reel, and if you also look at over $1 million impact of the water park, both to the town and to the county, that's added value. As far as the sports betting is concerned, frankly, I don't think there's going to be much difference adding sport betting to the rod and reel with the current gambling operations. And the idea of additional traffic, again, Chesapeake Beach has always had our welcome mat open. We've always greeted and welcomed the visitors to the town of Chesapeake Beach. That's what we've always been. We've been a destination. We are a recreation community. And until the community wants to go into a different direction, this is just another service or that we offer in town, which has not harmed the town of Chesapeake Beach. So again, I'm not advocate for or against, but I'm just trying to give you what the added impact is of a facility of that nature and what it's done to the beaches as far as our revenue sources.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cumbo, you would answer this question first, and then Mr. Mahoney. What plans do you have to increase the use of security cameras on town property?
Well, again, I was one of the first to champion the idea of cameras within the community, particularly along the hiker biker trail. I think it's important. It's for safety. It also helps prevent vandalism. I'd even like to see a camera that gives you a view of the Chesapeake Bay. We're a fishing, charter fishing community. And I think to be able to go on the website and have a view of the Chesapeake Bay to get some idea of what the water conditions are for many of the folks who come down to the beach for the charter fishing community, I think would be a good thing. But I think cameras are good. I think they provide public safety and a documentation when vandalism and things of that nature take place. So I could see some expansion of security cameras. We have them in the water park. As indicated, we have them on the hiker biker trail, and I like to see a camera on the bay. And I like to see that whole system integrated together, which we have not done at this time.
Okay, Mr. Mahoney.
We have plans right now to increase the video surveillance around town to include both boardwalks on Kellum's Field and our new park when it opens up. And this is in concert with our Twin Beach deputies, so they have an extra tool when they're out on patrol. And I think it's important to know that in addition to this, there's a third leg to that stool, in that we're also working in concert with the neighborhood watch groups. So we can have the total picture here. The patrols increasing, on bicycles as well, video surveillance and active neighborhood watch groups, all talking to each other and the town administration. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now, this would be the last question before you give your closing statements. And Mr. Mahoney, would you would be first to respond. Excuse me, somebody has their mic open and they're interfering with the form. This question is, what are your views on attracting development to the community?
I think the town certainly has done enough to attract development to our community. We need to start looking at our future in more of a controlled growth with a stern eye. We need an adequate public facilities ordinance, which basically says until the infrastructure, the schools, et cetera, are in place, you cannot develop at this time. Chesapeake Beach has experienced unbridled growth in the last 30 years. And at some point in time, it needs to stop, or somebody without a business motive needs to look at this, control it, and do it very slowly and carefully. Thank you.
I've been here, as indicated, for 30 years, and this issue of growth has been an issue over the last 30 years. And as new folks come into our community, one of the first things they want to do is close the door behind them, and let's end it because they've come from metropolitan areas. And I understand that. But the communities that we have here, Richville Station, Chesapeake Village, Chesapeake Station, these are the things that have attracted people to come to Chesapeake Beach. The fact of the matter is there really is not much growth that we can do. We are landlocked and sea-locked. We really can't expand the town limits. It's not anything that we do as far as that's concerned. I think growth at this point has become almost a non-issue. There's some infill properties that we possibly could build on, but for the most part, we've about expanded about as much as we can go. So although it's been an issue for the last 30 years, I think that issue is slowly depleting. And I've always been an advocate of smart growth. You're not going to stop growth completely, but you have to be smart about it, and you have to plan these communities. And I think that we've done a fine job of that in Chesapeake Beach. Thank you.
Thank you. I was asked to see if there's anyone that would like to submit a question from the audience. We have time for perhaps one more question. Any questions from the audience? Is everybody ready to go home?
Let's do closing.
Okay, we'll do the closing. We've now reached the end of the question and answer period. I would like to ask the candidates to begin their closing statements for 1 minute. And Mr. Mahoney, you would start first, and then Mr. Cumbo, you would close.
These are challenging and uncertain times. We need to keep your experienced small town mayor who fights for you and takes bold steps to keep you safe. If reelected, rest assured, my administration will maintain fiscal responsibility with your services at the top of my priority list. Your town will be run right. As I said earlier, we carry a $2.1 million surplus into this fiscal year, and we will continue our fiscal prudence moving forward. My priorities are strong leadership, fiscal responsibility, children, families' interest, and protecting our small town charm. We also have exciting times ahead of us, like the Miller Loveless Park at Kellums Field. We have a new elementary school being built, and we have some more sidewalks and walkability. We will also consider our locals only options at the beach and water park moving forward. Please vote on November the 3rd or cast your absentee ballot. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I told you what I've done. Now I'm going to tell you what I'll do as your mayor. I will immediately suspend the 30-day ban on short-term rentals and Airbnbs. I'll bring back trust and transparency with our town and staff. I'll establish regular administrative staff meetings. I'll make every effort to stop tax increases and the raising of our utility rates. I'll improve relationships with local business and town contractors. I'll make Chesapeake Beach an attractive location for new and existing business. I'll support our charter fishing community and routine dredging of Fishing Creek. I'll endeavor to bring fast speed internet network availability throughout our town. I will fix and expand sidewalks and repair streets. I will move forward with the smart cities concept, integrating information and communication technology, improve our maintenance and upkeep at our parks and recreational areas, preserve a family-friendly community, as well as enhance senior citizens and community programs. These are results you can see. Thank you. I ask for your vote for mayor. Thank you very much. Stay safe, stay healthy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Patrick Irish Mahoney and Mr. Stu Cumbo. We appreciate your service and your interest in running. And now the Town of Chesapeake Beach 2020 election for mayor and town council will be held on November the 3rd, 2020 at Town Hall, located at 8200 Bayside Road, Chesapeake Beach, Maryland, 20732 from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on November the 3rd, Tuesday. The town does not have early voting. Let me repeat that. The town does not have early voting. However, due to COVID, all Chesapeake Beach voters are encouraged to request and complete an absentee ballot, or otherwise known as a mail-in ballot. The ballot application is available on the town website or in the container attached to the side of the drop box outside of Town Hall, or by calling Town Hall at 410-257-2230. Return ballot to the Board of Elections, Chesapeake Town Hall, prior to closing of polls on election day, which is 8 p.m. by one of the following methods. Insert into the drop box outside of Town Hall, or drop off at Town Hall during weekend ballot pickup on October the 17th, October the 24th, and October the 31st from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Mail the ballot in. No postage is necessary if mailed in the U.S. It must be postmarked, however, by 8 p.m. on Tuesday, November the 3rd. And if you've been listening to the mail situation, I would not wait until the last minute to mail it. Vote in person option. You can bring the ballot with you on election day, check in, receive a voter authorization card, follow judge's direction to scan station, and insert the ballot into the scanner. If the line gets too long, you can seal your ballot into the oath envelope, fill in and sign oath, and insert into the drop box, which is next to the town hall. Please note that the request for an absentee ballot for Chesapeake Beach is different from the mail-in ballot application for the 2020 general election. The 2020 general election mail-in ballot application must be received by the Calvert County Board of Elections on or before Tuesday, October the 20th. There are separate drop boxes for the Chesapeake Beach Town Council and Mayor's race, and is located outside of Town Hall. The drop box for the 2020 general election is located at the Northeast Community Center at 4075 Gordon Stennett Avenue in Chesapeake Beach. Please be sure to drop your mail-in ballot at the appropriate drop box. However, if you make a mistake, which I know you won't do, proper arrangements have been made that if the general election, when they pick theirs up, they happen to find by some glitch a Chesapeake Beach ballot, they will see to it that Randy Gutman gets that, and he in turn will do the same. Please check the League of Women Voters of Calvert County website for more information about the 2020 general election at Calvert County, lwvcalvert.org. And I would like to remind you, the mail-in ballots that are being received by the general election being received by the Board of Elections, they are beginning to be canvassed. It takes time. I understand it takes about, in 1 hour, they scan only about 83 ballots. So those of you that have mail-in ballots, I would urge you to get your ballot in now. Don't wait until the last minute, because that just ties up the vote count. The more votes that they can count now, the easier it is to get out the final results. So please, if you filled out your ballot, get it in so it can be counted, and they will have more time to do other things. Now, this concludes our forum, and I would like to thank the town of Chesapeake Beach, the town administrator, Holly Wall, and I would like to personally thank Renita Alexander, Sandy Ravine, and Janet Valenci for assisting me with the questions and the timing and everything, as well as Gladys White. And it was great to see some of my former neighbors, because I resided in Chesapeake Beach until 2015 on the forum tonight. So to those, I say hello. It was good seeing your names, even though I didn't see you. And I noticed that there were some interlopers from North Beach watching this. So maybe they've learned something from Chesapeake Beach tonight by watching and being into this. But thank you, everyone. Be safe, be careful. When you go out, wear your mask. The pandemic is still out there. It hasn't gone anywhere. So please be careful. And I wish you a good night and a restful night until you can get up tomorrow and do your thing, whatever that might be. So good night, everyone.
Good night, Malcolm. Thank you all very much. StuartCumbo.com. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Good night, Malcolm.
You all.